Welcome to Film Freaks. This is Justin Llewellyn.
And Eddie Williams.
And tonight we are doing something, actually a different, something special for this night. In regards to, with the upcoming release of the new adaptation of It coming out in September, we decided that we wanted to go ahead and look back on some of the things about Stephen King to kind of just go by based on his, influences and his films in general that we've watched and kind of talk to him in general about.
Keep in mind what we're going to do is we're going to build up from the start of Stephen King about his biography, where he where he was born, when he came up, why he came up with the ideas, just kind of a build up. We will lead to his filmography. Keep in mind that this might be a 2 or maybe a 3-part series, so
yeah,
we'll see how far we can get, and then we'll judge from there.
Yeah, because since there's a lot of things to talk about with Stephen King, we don't really want to. We wanted to basically just do an overall general discussion itself and go over it.
And this is kind of like a little chit chat, something me and him can just have fun, just sit back and talk. But we're doing it for the audience, for everybody to listen to. Yeah, and then you can leave us a comment below and have a good conversation with us and tell us your favorite things about Stephen King and all that, but we're going to give you our insights of him.
Yeah, we're also going to talk mainly about his films, but we'll also touch base on some of his books as well that he's written, because I've actually owned some of his books too that I'm in the process of trying to read. So here we go. This is our official discussion of Stephen King. So, Stephen King, as we know and love, was born in Maine, and when he was young...
He was born in September 21st, 1947.
Yes, and he was born in, Maine. I think it was Portland, I believe.
I can't remember.
Portland, Maine.
Yeah.
So he was born in Portland, Maine, and when he was growing up, he pretty much, was going through some. I heard that he had some struggles in life when he was little. But basically, to kind of start out, like, his when he was growing up, he was very fascinated with a lot of horror things in general.
A big horror fan, but what really got him into writing?
Well, when it came to writing, as he got older, because when he got older, he was very influenced by a lot of stories from H.P. Lovecraft, and there was actually a funny story where it came to his uncle, where his uncle was doing something that had to do with a water thing or whatever. But basically, the main influence came from him basically hearing stories from the Tales from the Crypt stories. Because EC Comics, which was around the 50s, brought out these stories that were pretty much like comic books. Yep. They were horror stories. And these horror stories were very fascinating because they were kind of like anthology stuff. Every story would be different every time. Yeah. So Stephen King was actually it led some influence on him because he was touched by these ideas and stuff, and basically he also had different things that came to mind when it came to these stories, and so we'll touch base on this later because those stories that are in some of the Tales from the Crypt books he would later use in CREEPSHOW.
Yeah.
So that he would write with George Romero.
Which, by the way, he said, he was fascinated with Tales of the Crypt.
Yeah. And to kind of go some other history with Stephen King, he was also fascinated with a lot of other horror stories in general, but the main thing was that what influenced him the most was that he basically compares his uncle's successfully dowsing for water using the bowl of an apple branch, with this basically him realizing what he wanted to do for a living. And that inspiration occurred while browsing through he was in an attic one time with his brother, and King discovered a paperback of H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah. And a lot of them influences from all his stories and his books, a lot of them have to do with real life events that he's dealt with in his life. Where he adds on a tab to make it more scarier. So a lot of his stories do influence from shit he's been through.
Yeah, and when he was at school, he basically wanted to write for fun because he was fascinated by these stories. And then as he got older, he started realizing, I could probably do something with this. And so he started writing short stories. He started out doing just short stories first, and then started doing novels.
Yeah.
And then basically after that, he wanted to, pursue more horror stories as he got older. And during that time, a lot of his stories became really well known. Like even in some of his short stories, because basically a lot of his short stories they wrote, they would become like a collection of stories in their own books. Like for example, I have a book of King's that's called Night Shift that I own that is has a series of short stories in there, including Chewing the Corn, The Lawnmower Man, and it's also got some other stuff in there too. And basically, his first story that he wrote was something called The Glass Floor back in 1967. They wrote it was
It's for a library,
Yes.
University of Maine, that he sent the papers into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is while he was, in college. And then he earned a certificate to teach high school, but he didn't want to. But he was unable to find a teaching post at that time.
Yeah.
And so, as the years went by, he basically finally went into different ideas that he was trying to get to. His first official book that he did was CARRIE,
Yeah.
which he wrote.
Yeah, wrote, yeah. Now, I do want to bring this up. He is married to a woman named Tabitha. It's been his love of his life. He's been married to her. He still, to this day, is married to her. She is famous for writing children's books.
Oh, she is?
Yes.
Okay.
She's a writer herself. She loves writing for children. So, they both have a career in writing. So, they have the dream come true where they just they write, and that's what they do for a living. Them too.
That's really great. Like they're one team together.
Yeah, and I do have my family. My grandma is distant family, not really distant family, kind of. But we got a lot of my grandmas. She grew up with her friends, and she's got a couple of friends that actually moved out to Maine, Bangor, Maine, and they actually have met Stephen King in person. And unlike celebrities where they kind of do like the whole snotty, I'm too famous, all that shit, Stephen King actually tries to live traditional like we do, like a regular day-to-day person. And I've been told he is a friendly guy. He loves taking care of his town. He is really a donator type person. He likes to donate and help fundraisers. He is like, he'll go to grocery stores, shop with regular people. He is open to talk to you. I hear the guy is a pretty stand-up guy.
He is, yeah. And if you've seen him in interviews, King loves to talk about all the different stories he learns about how he influenced a lot of things. Yeah. And I even saw one interview where he basically said that he doesn't consider himself a horror writer per se. He just basically writes what comes to his mind based on what he remembers growing up,
which
or
happens
had
to become
or he had nightmares about.
Yeah, and not only that, he really loves to hear feedback from fans. Mm-hmm. So he's open to people.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But basically, yeah, as the years went by with King, he became a lot more famous that people were catching on with based on his stories and stuff. After CARRIE, and he started doing more stories that he was writing, including the original Salem's Lot. Mm-hmm. And there was actually a point in time that when he was writing his books, he actually went by a different pseudonym. There was a name that he went by called Richard Bachman that he went by. The reason why he went by this name to use for some of his books is he basically wanted to kind of shy away that not really getting the people the idea that he wanted to become famous. So he wanted to use basically a pseudonym to kind of deviate himself from like his popularity. And it was also because, from what I heard, was that some of the publications, they couldn't use more than one of his stories a year. So they can only publish one story a year for him instead of multiple ones.
Yes.
So during the time, he would be writing as a pseudonym to basically write some of his books.
Yes.
And that was from like the 70s to the 80s, basically. It was only like a 10-year, so to speak, gap. But during that time, he when you read a book by this guy named Richard Bachman, you're thinking like, who is this guy? I wonder where he's from. Then you're like, oh, that's actually Stephen King. So basically, as the years went by, King was pretty much, gaining a lot of that success based on his books and everything. And then, after a while, he pretty much, got in contact with some of the studios that were interested in some of his films. And believe it or not, one of the first films that actually brought out that was based on his adaptations was the original Carrie.
Yeah.
From 1976.
Yeah, which starred Sissy
Spacek.
Spacek, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't say her last name. It's
Yeah,
like
so...
a tongue twister.
Yeah, so we're basically going by in order of these films that have come out. We're also including some of the the different miniseries that have come out, too. So, basically, to start out...
Now, to keep in mind, when we go down his filmography and kind of give our 2 cents or whatever, keep in mind, I am a lot older than Justin, so I was able to see a lot of these. But there are some that I've literally haven't seen since they came out back in the day. So we're going to kind of be like having to describe some of what we can do.
Yeah.
And there are some I have never seen that I didn't even know he even did. So, we're not going to, we've never seen all his films. But we're going to I've seen majority of them, so we can give a throughout, what we can give.
Yeah. Well, before we get to his films, though, I just want to ask you, have you actually, read any of his books?
I have glanced through his books. I have no problem with books. I just don't got the patience for it. I'm not a book reader. I've never have been a book reader. But my grandma, which I talk to all the time, she used to sit down and tell me about Stephen King before I really, got deep into his stuff back in the day. My grandma is a big book reader, and her absolute favorite is Stephen King. She has all the first editions from her times.
Oh, really?
All his first edition books. She even goes and buys the extra editions and all that shit. She's got fucking a shrine of books of him. There ain't nothing you're gonna tell me that she don't have. She has. Even rarity shit she has. So I feel like I've read them from her perspective, because she would sit down and just have a long conversation about what she read about them. So I feel like I kind of read them in a way. You get what I'm trying to say?
I got you, yeah.
Even though technically I haven't, because I'm not a book reader. I just don't have the patience for it. My life is busy. I've just never been a book reader. I don't have the patience for it. I really don't. You got to have patience for it. Though I do respect books.
Yeah.
I do respect books.
And that's the thing with me. I finally have had the opportunity to read part of of Stephen King's books. So now the first one that I'm finally reading.
Is that your first?
Yes, it is. The first book that I'm officially reading is It.
Yeah.
And right now I'm about...
You think about collecting all his books?
I'm trying to. You actually gave me one of them. You actually gave me that book that Serena had called Nightmares and Dreamscapes.
Dreamscapes, which was a series of stories he told.
Yeah, which they also adapted to a miniseries.
Yeah, which we'll go into detail later.
Yeah. But so far I have that book, and I also have Night Shift, which is also a series of collection of stories.
Yeah.
So right now the official book that I'm reading is It. And I'm about almost 500 pages in.
Yeah.
And I'm getting prepared for the film coming out, guys. So I am definitely going to try to read the rest of this book so that, if you want to join on as well, I'm going to try to do this thing where I can do a compare and contrast analysis on the book.
What we're going to probably do is, we'll probably do a non-spoiler It. We'll do a spoiler It. Then we will do a 3-parter where we talk about the miniseries, the book, and the reboot.
Yeah.
To compare them.
Yeah, because...
So we'll do that. We'll do a spoiler, non-spoiler, and retro on all 3.
Okay. All right, yeah, we'll do that. Because basically what I want to try to do is see how closer this new adaptation coming out is going to be with the book.
And how some of the differences might have triumphed over them.
We won't touch base much on the miniseries on this discussion. Keep in mind, we'll talk briefly about it, but we won't go into full detail until our actual discussion.
Yeah.
But, right now that's the first book I'm reading, so I'm getting into it, and I'm really hoping to finish it by the time the movie comes out.
Yeah.
So, basically, now we're going to go into discussing some of King's movies, all of King's movies and mini TV shows and miniseries that have come out that are based on his works. The first one we started out with was Carrie.
Yes.
So, Carrie was the first one that was based on one of his works from 1976, and it stars Sissy Spacek, and it was the tale of the girl who was basically picked on by all the kids at school, all the girls at school for being an outcast and all that, and And she's really bewildered by her mother all the time, you know.
Who is kind of like it's like really she's like a Jesus freak, but kind of like satanic type-ish. Like it's a different type of religion. The way, because you remember how creepy her fucking statues was?
Yeah.
And her shelves in that fucking movie, dude? Where they had glowing eyes and shit? That shit fucking creeped me the fuck out, dude.
It did, man.
Oh my god, man. But, nonetheless, we had John Travolta in this film.
This was his, well, it wasn't his debut, but it was his big, like, starring role.
where it kind of went big.
Yeah. It was the first film that, like, really got him attention. You know? So it was one of his earliest roles, and we also had the girl who played off RoboCop. What was her name? Nancy something.
Yeah, the one
Nancy
who
Allen.
played the girl. The chick.
Nancy Allen. Yeah, she played the really stuck-up bitch named Chris.
Yeah,
in the movie, and you know, Carrie to this day is one of my favorite films of King's because not only is it you really feel bad for Carrie throughout the entire film. But you also really get why she would do, like, when she has, like, these powers that she's able to use telekinesis on, you really feel bad for her because she really has no control of them, you know?
Yeah. And not only that,
Sissy
Spacek, I'm sorry, it's a tongue twister for me. She was a damn good fucking choice, man.
Yeah.
I think she is a damn good choice. I didn't really find her thoroughly attractive, which I think that's one of her strongest suits in this film.
Yeah, because not to cut you off, but in the book, they actually go into detail that Carrie is actually overweight and she's a lot more different than as described.
And as we know in all the films, including the reboots and all that, never ever tried once for any chances made her overweight in any of her films, any of the films. But they do make her kind of very unattractive.
Yeah. At least it seems like out of the adaptations, at least, the original version is the only one where she looks like the most normal looking. Where Sissy Spacek is beautiful, but she's the only one that you can buy as Carrie that has that authentic look that Carrie would probably have from the book.
Yes.
At least from the face. You know. So yeah, she was definitely the perfect choice to play Carrie.
Yeah, she was, and I will tell you right now, with the whole pig blood and then the you know what they can work with practicals with the with her freaking out and closing the doors. That movie was a nerve-wrenching fucking film. It was really nerve-wrenching as hell.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It was melodramatic at parts, but you can still feel like the tension surrounding Carrie because the fact that she has to go through so much not only from her mother but from the kids at school. You know, it feels like she can't go anywhere being safe. You know, and then the only one who really like sympathizes with her the most is the teacher, Sue, and then Tommy, the one who asked her out to the prom.
Yeah. And, you know, great performances. And to this day, the original Carrie is considered a very classic. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I mean, and it's really detailed of what they did with, you know, the story with her with the adaptation.
Yeah.
So, what would you give your grade on Carrie?
If I would have graded it, I would probably give it a solid 9.5 out of 10.
I would probably give it, I'm going to go 9 out of 10 on that one, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so but with Carrie, we did spawn some reboot sequels later on. The first one came with Rage Carrie 2.
From 99? 98. No, it was 99.
Yeah, 99. And this one did where they were where we were supposedly, what the story goes with, they say Sissy Spacek had a kid at the end of the movie.
Well, no, she basically had
a grandkid
I think it was like a cousin or something like that.
Or it might have been. I
can't remember the relation, but basically she was related to Carrie.
Yeah, and they actually replace the girl who felt sorry for
Sue.
Sue
Spacek, actually reprises her role in this one.
In this one, and it's the real actor instead of the character reprise. It's the real actor doing it too. And basically, she comes back, and she's now a counselor at this new school. Now, this film is a very terrible film. It didn't need a sequel. Carrie is not a part 2, part 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It should just be a standalone film for the get-go. But this film does have some 90s nostalgia, which you can kind of like with the whole the gothic thing going on with her veins popping out and the fucking goth thing. I do like how they brought the original girl back. I do like the music with the whole 90s, like, you know, you got, like, Blue Oyster Cult playing and all that shit.
Yeah.
It brings a lot of 90s Soundgarden feel to it.
Yeah.
And it does, which is always cool for those type 90s films. But other than that, this was a fucking terrible sequel.
Yeah.
It didn't need a fucking sequel, man. I seen it in theaters when I was a kid. My uncle fucking took me to it when I was young.
Well, to be honest, I haven't really fully watched the film since the 90s, so the only thing I can really remember was that scene at the very end.
Yeah, which is a gruesome. We will say it is bloody.
The climax is very gruesome. They up it more in the original film, but even still, to this day, some parts of it I found too over the top. Like, and the CGI does not fucking hold up.
Yeah. So, if you had to give Rage Carrie 2...
If I would have rated it, probably a 2 or 3 out of 10. But keep in mind, I haven't seen it so long, so I can't really judge it.
Alright, I've seen it more recently because I did rewatch a lot of shit. I'm going to go 3 out of 10 on that one. So then, I can't talk in this one. He did see the TV reboot.
I did. There was a TV remake of Carrie in 2002 that I watched. Actually, in time for the other remake in 2013. Yeah. In 2013, I watched the 2002 version, and this one starred Angela Bettis, I believe her name is, something like that. The girl from May, who played Carrie, and she was a good choice because this one they kind of up more of it to where Carrie's more of a gothic, I think, type more. She's a lot more outcast in this way because they kind of make her look a little bit more gothic looking. If from what I remember, I can't remember if it's been so long. But anyway, in this version, they kind of play more stuff related to the book this time because they add some things in there that wasn't from the original film. And the way it's structured is very similar to the book. Because in the book, it actually takes place inside this police station where the cops are questioning Sue about the situation.
Yeah.
So I like the way that they are playing more with the book. Even though I never read the book, I just heard about it. But the only problem I have, like, I thought it was a solid remake. I thought they kind of upped some things. My only real problem with the remake was they did feel like they kind of ended with a cliffhanger that was trying to be a backdoor pilot to a TV series that shouldn't have happened. Yeah. Because I felt like Carrie is not something that should have a fucking sequel.
Yeah.
To me. So, I feel like it's... If I would have graded it, probably maybe a solid 6 out of 10. It's got great performances, and it's got a great, interesting idea. I just felt like, you know, it's one of those one and done movies. Or something I could watch and then probably not really watch again.
Fair enough. So then in 2013, we ended up getting a reboot, an actual movie feature reboot.
Another adaptation of Carrie, which stars Chloe Moretz, which I'm a really big fan of.
Yeah.
Chloe Moretz, I feel like, is a very talented actress.
Now, before we get to the cons, the whole story.
The whole story with this was that they wanted to do a more closer adaptation of the book. And from what I heard, there was actually some behind-the-scenes stuff that was going on where apparently, like, they intentionally had some things from the book that they used in the script that they were shooting for. But I did hear rumors that supposedly the studio didn't want that, and they wanted in favor more of stuff basically going verbatim from the original film.
Yeah.
So it seems like they cut some things from the script that they had in mind going for the movie. Yeah. But anyway, this story, they kind of update some things where Carrie is, like the original film in the book, she is going through a lot of, you know, with her period and stuff, going through stuff with her mother. Though in this version, they actually up the mother part because the mother is a lot more like,
which is played by
Julianne Moore.
Which was actually a pretty good
fucking choice.
Yeah, she was a pretty fucking creepy mom. I will give them that. The casting is great in this film. My only problem which is a con, is Chloe Moretz is a talented actress, but she is so fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
And Carrie is not supposed to be beautiful.
No, because the whole point is
like, Carrie is, like, supposed to struggle in this movie. More of my big cons. I'm supposed to led to believe that Chloe Moretz has a hard time finding men, boyfriend, to be normal. When, theoretically, if I was her age and I was in high school, I'd fuck this shit out of her. I ain't gonna be censored here. I would, too. Man, I would fuck shit. She is a beautiful girl, dude.
Yeah.
Today, she would be fucked by half of the school. Yeah. She is not an ugly girl. She is beautiful.
Yeah.
Beyond, like, recognition, dude. She is a beautiful girl.
I agree with you. That is one of the cons I do have.
I think she's a miscast because of that. Though her talent was great in this film.
Yeah.
It's just she's so fucking beautiful, and the whole purpose of the film they're going with was she's ugly. Oh, hell no. Ugh, you want me to go with CARRIE?
Well, I think the whole purpose in this version, because in the book it plays a big part of that. She is ugly in the book.
Yeah.
That's what they describe. In the movie, I feel like the intention they're going for, like the original film, was because she is socially outcast, is how she doesn't fit in with everyone else. That's the whole point I can see they're going for, but the full attractiveness, no, I can't fucking buy.
Yeah, which they actually say in the movie, in the reboot, oh man, this girl's ugly. No, she's not. She is so goddamn beautiful, dude.
Yeah.
I'll date her. Fuck.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
so,
and plus also, one of the things I did also have issues with the remake as well, or the 2013 version. While I did enjoy the film overall, of its story, how because they did add some things from the book that were interesting, like how we have the subplot involving the mom getting like the dress and stuff, and you also have the stuff going on with how there's these weird thing with the rocks or whatever.
And I did like the detail instead of her really just attacking the schools, they did it more deeper, and she went and killed the whole city.
Yeah,
she attacked and burned down the city, and the whole town, which I actually thought was a good addition, even though, I agree with you on the CGI.
The CGI was pretty bad.
Yeah, in some parts, but it still was pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was good change that they did that.
Yeah.
But overall, though, I enjoyed the remake, but I feel like, it felt like they could have maybe done some things, because really one of my other problems was when it gets to that final third act, it is too verbatim from the original film. Like, they basically do verbatim dialogue scenes directly from the original film, which I know that if it's supposed to be from the book, I understand, but the way that it's filmed, it's like they're doing like the Psycho remake, where they're just doing it shot for shot, I felt like they kind of overdid that.
Yeah.
But overall, though, I enjoyed it. I just felt like, it could have, been a lot... It could have been something a little different than what I was expecting.
Yeah. So, if you gave it a grade, what was it?
I think when I graded it, actually back in the day when I reviewed it, because I actually reviewed this movie when I was using my old account on Blip, I think I gave it like a solid 7 out of 10, I believe. I think it was around there.
Yeah. I'm going to go a little bit lower than you and go 6.5 out of 10.
I got you.
Yeah. Moving on, that was pretty much the CARRIE's. His next one would actually be his TV miniseries debut, Salem's Lot.
Yes,
1979.
And believe it or not, I finally got a chance to watch this film.
He finally watched this. I've been telling him for years to watch this. I watched this a long time ago. I grew up on this. The original. Don't get it mixed up with the other fucking two. Even though the reboot was TV miniseries. Does have its praises as a cool, but it still didn't hold up because, man, I just think that this is one of the films that fits of its time, which the atmosphere, they brought the whole Exorcist type shoot to it, where it's like you're relying so much on darkness and smoke and just the atmosphere of the 70s, 80s horror is what makes Salem's Lot and feature other films I'll mention later on, that makes it only hold up in the 80s and 70s. It just doesn't hold up in the later years because we rely on high technology, CGI. So, yeah. Anyways, let's go back and let's talk about 1979 Salem's Lot.
So, with Salem's Lot, believe it or not, what interested me with this, not only was it the first time I finally got a chance to watch it, but tragically, while the time we're doing this audio, keep in mind, this film was directed by Tobe Hooper, who we just found out tonight had actually passed away.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace.
Rest in peace. He was found dead in his Los Angeles home tonight. We don't know the details, won't know for a while. But, Tobe Hooper has passed away tonight. Yeah,
and he was such a great director. We'll do a separate video or audio on giving our respects to Tobe Hooper.
Yeah.
This was actually one of his earliest films that he directed, and I actually really enjoyed it. Like, because what happened was when I was on my trip, in my vacation that I announced from some of you who've been following my channel, I was actually on vacation in Orange Beach, Alabama, and I got a chance to finally watch Salem's Lot, and I was watching it, and I was like, damn, I don't know why I missed out for this so many over the years, because this even though it's a mini-series, it still is pretty fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Especially because...
I will tell you right now, what brings it out is not only the acting, it's the year it's made. It plays a lot with what they can work with the 70s and 80s. And this is another famous film I'm bringing up. It has nothing to do with Stephen King's. Another film that worked of its time. It kind of reminds me of The Fog. Of the how they were able to shoot
John
the whole
Carpenter one.
Yeah, how they were able to shoot the whole fog, and just they did it a lot in Salem's Lot. And what creeps me out is how this is the only time one of the only few times I've ever seen later dates they actually bring Nosferatu as the fucking vampire.
Yeah, because basically this story involving Salem's Lot basically deals with a writer that's coming from another. He's actually returning to his town in Maine, and he discovers like there's some weird shit happening. Like some of the people in the town are acting kind of weird and stuff, and then he comes across this girl that Susan, everything that he's getting into and everything, and then there's like these other characters that are doing situations around the town, and they discover that there's like this weird crate that shows up all of a sudden, and when this crate shows up, they're wondering what it's about and everything. All of a sudden, while that's happening, there's other shit going on where people are getting killed off one by one.
Yeah.
And we discover throughout the film that there's actually vampires.
It's like a Nosferatu, and I will tell you right now, the practicals of him, he is fucking scary, dude.
He is.
I want to tell you right now, not my favorite vampire film, but I will tell you right now, the vampire look of Nosferatu in Salem's Lot is probably the most scariest of all vampires I've ever seen.
Yeah, the guy's name I believe was Barrow,
He had a name like Barrow or something.
I think so.
I can't remember
Barlow, that's what it was. Yeah,
Barlow. I can't remember his name. I haven't seen it in like a long time, but I will tell you right now, the whole fog with the whole window, and then it's like he keeps fucking taunting him, and people want to go to his window, and that one boy bites him right in his neck, and then like sucks the blood and lifts him up, and then Moore is trying to taunt him through the window, and you get that fog and that green and the black mixed with it.
That's what I'm saying.
That is so
creepy.
fucking scary, dude.
That is great atmosphere on its own right there, but also the tension and everything is built up really well. Because for one thing, when you first see Barlow, the vampire, he comes out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, and I will tell you right now, it might not be my favorite vampire film, but it's up there. But I will say it's my scariest vampire film. Because the other ones are just fucking fun and badass looking. This one actually terrified me for a long time when I was a kid when I watched this. So it's a fucking terrifying film for a vampire film. And it was cool when they get that last that part where they're like trying to like settle what they're gonna do at the end, and then fucking Barlow was like in that fucking living room with them. Like, this movie doesn't hold back.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And plus, it also ends kind of with a cliffhanger where, well, spoilers for those of you who haven't seen it. Basically, we have it to where...
This isn't going to be a spoiler.
Yeah, basically the main guy, the guy played, I forgot his character's name, but David Soul from Starsky and Hutch, him and the boy, they end up actually going across Guatemala and all that, and they discover that the vampires are pretty much still around in pretty much... It's... In pretty much everywhere, you know, in Salem's Lot, and it kind of looked like it was setting up itself for a sequel, but we'll get to that here. Before we get to that, I would say that overall, I did highly enjoy Salem's Lot, and I will say that even though it had some pacing issues for sometimes,
because it is a long book,
it's a long mini-series, I would say it's a good solid, probably 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with you, 8.5 out of 10, that one too.
Yeah. So it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, while we're doing this, I have still not finished it yet. I'm only
and I haven't seen it for a long time, and I'm going to be honest with you, I had a hard time finishing it myself.
This is actually one of those occasions where I haven't finished it yet, and I'm already 35 minutes in. It's pissing me off. Return to Salem's Lot. I shit you not, this is a film that probably shouldn't have been made just from what I've been watching, because the tone, the way that the film is acted, and the story, so far, it is not interesting me. It is pissing me off, because not only are they rushing things already at the start, they are actually contradicting shit that was from the last film. So it's like, you know, and not to mention, we don't even get any references to the characters from the previous movies. Yeah. It's almost like the first film didn't even fucking happen.
It's one of those type 80s films that pretty much said, you know, okay, you made such a good classic, we're going to go ahead and we think we can use the fucking Nosferatu cover of the first movie on our cover. Not going to really have him at all. And then we're just going to be like, we're just going to say, like, that events didn't happen. We're just going to fuck your shit up.
Okay, I stand corrected. I think the events did happen the first one, but
I don't remember,
for some reason,
I'm going to tell you right now, I could not finish
the vampires are there in Return to Salem's Lot. For some reason, they don't mention at all Barlow from the first film. Like, he's not mentioned. He's not even seen throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
But yet, he's on that fucking box cover. You know,
false advertised, motherfucker.
Yeah,
yeah. So,
but
I can't really
judge it because I haven't finished it. But so far, from what I've been watching, it is painful to get through.
It is severely painful. I agree with you.
Yeah.
What's your grade?
Can't judge it, so I can't really grade it right now.
Yeah, can't really grade it, but I'm gonna tell you from what I've seen. If I judge from what I've seen so far of that, it would be a 1 out of 10. Man, it's that bad. So in 2004, after many years, they decided to go ahead and reboot the TV series, which was directed by Michael Solomon, and it starred Rob Lowe as Ben Mears, Donald Sutherland as Richard Stalker, Rutgers Hoare as Kurt Barlow, and James Carmel as Father Callahan. And it was a readaptation, but another TV series, and it came out in 2004. I did see this periodically. I started out strong, and I kind of faded away because I had other things going on in my life. You know, I was in high school, so I was partying and wanted to do other shit, so I really started losing touch with it. And I started losing touch on TV series, so I was like, you know, that was kind of played a role in that.
Yeah.
But from what I remember and from other fans, this did get kind of a, you know, all right, not bad, you know. But in my opinion, with Pet Sematary and, you know, certain films of his, I think hold better back in the olden times. Because we used new technology in the new Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
So, it was like, okay, creepy, cool, you did alright, but I just don't get the atmosphere feel to it.
Yeah.
I'm not scared. I'm just, like, more aroused to what you're showing me, but I'm not fucking scared.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm not terrified. So you underdid your predecessor of the first movie.
Yeah.
So I can't really judge after that. Like I said, I didn't finish it, but I remember Rob Lowe and the cast did pretty good. It got, you know, hey, you know, you did pretty good, but it still doesn't hold up in my opinion. The original is the way to go. I can't really judge it from what I've seen. It was 6, 7 out of 10, but like I said, I can't really give it a real grade because, you know.
Yeah, I've never seen the films. I've never seen the miniseries reboot, so I can't really judge it on my own. I've heard about it. I just never seen it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's that for me. Now we lead into 1980. This one is a controversial one, and we're probably gonna get a lot of hate with this because I've already got hate for this, but I don't give a shit. Even though I shouldn't get hated this because a lot of people praise this one. We're gonna go to 1980's Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining.
So with this one, this was an interesting story because with this one, basically for a while, Stanley Kubrick, who was known for directing movies like 2001: A Space Odyssey and Clockwork Orange and things like that.
Lawrence Arabia.
Well, no, I don't think he did that one. It was Spartacus.
Spartacus. Okay,
yeah. And
he did
Dr. Strangelove and all
Dr.
that.
Strangelove, that's what I was thinking of, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, Stanley Kubrick had never previously done a horror film before, and so this was his first venture into doing a horror film.
Yeah.
And basically, when it came to him...
And he was fascinated, I believe, with the story.
He was very fascinated with the book that King had wrote, because with The Shining... The Shining was one of those books that Stephen King wrote that also, we didn't talk about this, well, that was also an interesting, ironic story. In the novel, the character is an alcoholic, and in real life, Stephen King himself was actually dealing with alcoholism as his own.
So it's kind of like a metaphor type thing, like, hey, you know.
Yeah.
And then he's a writer, of course, and at the time, Stephen King was at the time where he was drinking heavily and writing, so it kind of played as in Jack Torrance.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And so when Stanley Kubrick was brought in, he actually came up to Stephen King, or he called him one day to try to kind of get some advice about the things that were going on for the story. And from what I saw in an interview that King had, I believe he called him one day when he was shaving, and King was basically telling him how, basically, in order for the story to work, Jack Torrance has to have a character arc. But with Stanley Kubrick, because a lot of his films were not, some of his other films were not very, like, story-driven, per se. Mm-hmm. Like, they didn't really have much of an overall arc. He wanted to basically do something different. And so this is where we get to the film version of The Shining, where basically it's the same general premise where you have Jack Torrance and his wife and child going to stay at this hotel in Colorado for the season. And basically, same general premise as the book, where they start seeing some things that are unusual there, and it results with them basically having to Jack Torrance either loses his mind from either cabin fever or some other turn of events that makes him go crazy.
Yeah.
So, same general premise, but there's a lot of details missing from the book that's from the movie.
Yeah, this is one of those controversials where I'm going to tell you right now, in my opinion, this is one of those very, 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 very rare occurrences where you have the guy write the book, and it's original, it's from that guy telling the story, and a director takes it, completely changes it, and fucking does better.
That's what now keep in mind, me and him have never read the book, but from what we've seen,
I agree with you.
It appears that if we...
Alright, I will agree that the TV adaptation from 1997...
I think it was 97, yeah.
97 was directly from the book. I agree with you. But, here's the difference. Stanley Kubrick's version was not only atmospheric, it was not artistic only, too, which was phenomenal. The performances was legendary. Jack Nicklaus as Jack Torrance was downright fucking terrifying. The emotional distress this guy went through is so authentic. I've never seen something like this written.
Well, not just that.
From a character that's went fucking purposely crazy. Not to mention Kubrick drove everybody insane purposely in this role to show the authentic of post-traumatic stress.
Especially if you see the behind the scenes of The Shining with Stanley Kubrick, it actually shows with Shelley Duvall, who plays Wendy, she went through fucking hell in that movie. Mm-hmm. Like, she was actually basically emotionally tortured by Kubrick to basically it was either intentionally trying to get a good performance out of her, or he was so fed up with her that he was basically trying to scare her.
And he didn't want to get rid of her. That's the fucking scary thing about Kubrick, and that's what makes him so good as a director. He fucking tore his cast to shreds, and he made them like they were going through some fucking authentic boot camp or some shit.
Yeah.
And he fucking tore into them mentally. And Shelley Duvall described it a year ago when she did her interview, and she's now like heavyweight. Says she's post-traumatic and she's fucked in the head. And
yeah, she said that she was having nightmares and all kinds of stuff after that happened.
And Kubrick really fucked her in the head. And I think, it's pretty shitty to do to a human being because this is a movie and you are just acting and all that. I get that. But the authentic of what Kubrick can do in his films is unbelievable.
Yeah.
He is the hardest director ever reported in Hollywood to work for. Though, people, even though they went through massive fucking hell with this director, to this day give him respect for what he was doing.
Yeah, because, I know a lot of people...
Jack Nicholson is fucking Jack Torrance, not fucking
Steven
Weber. I praise Weber that he tried to take a role. I'm sorry, dude, you did not nail it. Jack Nicholson was absolutely fucking frightening in that film. The fact that he did the atmosphere, the tensions of him just staring at the screen, just, it's fucking terrifying, dude. From Shelley Duvall's performance was A+.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
The boy, Danny Torrance.
Danny Lloyd.
Yeah, Danny Lloyd. You got fucking even Scatman Crothers. Oh my god, straight fucking A+ performances, dude. I am sorry, but this is also in my top 20 best 80s films ever made. It is so authentic. I'm sorry, King. I know you hated it. It really went 90% away from your book. But there's sometimes, man, this is like kind of... I describe it like this. 9 Inch Nails did Hurt. They gave it to Johnny Cash to rehash. Johnny Cash put what he personally went through that song. 9 Inch Nails said, it's your song, dude. Oh my god, I fucking cried, dude. I wrote it, but man, I could never sing that again. Yeah. And to this day, 9 Inch Nails will not sing it. That's Johnny Cash's song. I'm sorry, dude. That's his. Oh my god, dude. I can't, dude. Oh my god. Even Trevor even fucking cries to this day.
That's what I'm
saying.
He said,
oh my god. That's what King needs to do with Kubrick in this.
Yeah.
Because this was... Kubrick's was Johnny Cash singing.
Yeah.
In this, in my opinion. I'm sorry if I offend anybody. Sometimes there's that rarity. And I'm telling you right now, it's rarity. I'm not going to say any other book is better and all that. I'm sorry. Kubrick nailed it out of the fucking water. I'm sorry. To this day. To this fucking day. He nailed it out of the water.
I agree. Like,
it is unbelievably fucking frightening.
And this is why we refer to it as Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, because this is purely, something that Stanley Kubrick wanted to, is always going to be associated with.
I will give you guys the ending.
Yes.
It could have been a better ending.
Yes.
It could have been a better ending.
The ending was, though it is scary, I still to this day think it's one of the greatest endings of all time.
Yeah.
The book ended way differently, and that's why the miniseries, I think, did that much. It was because in 1997, we had a mini...
But let me grade Kubrick's.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's easily in my top 10, top 20 favorite films of all time in the 80s. And it's easily made my 50 all-times best movie ever made. I'm sorry to say this to you book fans. I give Stanley Kubrick's The Shining 10 out of 10.
I'm the same way. I give it a 10 out of 10 as well, and it's one of my favorite horror films. In fact, last year I actually went to the theater and actually saw it for the first time on the big screen. One of the greatest horror films of all time, and not just that, the hotel itself is like a character of its own, because when you're in there, when the characters are in there, when you see them walking around and stuff, you actually feel like you're there.
I'm sorry for the people who ain't from the 80s like I am. I started growing up in the 80s, so I have the pleasure to say this. But the films, no matter how good horror films to this day, will never amount to shit compared to the 80s. The 80s can capture atmosphere. I think it has a lot to do with they didn't give a flying fuck about graphics back in the day. Versus today, they care about that.
Yeah.
So they put all their effort to that. Atmosphere. Acting was so cinematography. There was no cuts. There was pressure. Everybody was drawn to their knees for performances in the 80s. Compared to now, it's like, cut, that was good. Cut, that was good. Yeah. I'll just render it together. We got high technology now.
Well, keep in mind, too, Stanley Kubrick himself from right here was also a perfectionist. Where, I shit you not, in The Shining, they actually say that one scene where Wendy is swinging the bat, they say that took almost 127 takes just to get that one scene right.
Yep. So, I'm sorry.
But
it's a 10 out of 10 for Kubrick, man.
There's so much I want to go into detail with The Shining, but everyone's pretty much talked about it so much at this point, so there's really not much we have new to offer. But I would say that it is still one of my favorite horror films of all time.
Yeah, and then we got the TV adaptation that pleased you book lovers in 1995, 97, which I did watch. I watched
it when it first aired, too.
First aired. I get that it is about the book, and it does add a whole lot more. Here's my problem. The cast was really not that great, in my opinion.
Okay, I'll say, I kind of disagree there, because from what I remember watching, now keep in mind, I was about maybe 6 or 7, but I already watched the Kubrick version growing up. So, when I was 6 or 7, I watched the TV series. But one thing I will disagree with, Steven Weber and Rebecca, I thought were good. The one casting I did find very fucking bad was the kid. I thought the kid who played Danny was very bad.
Yeah, he was very bad, but I will give you Weber as a last second, because you can't bring Jack Nicholson back. You gotta change. I'll give you that. The girl, I think, she can be 50-50. I don't really know, man. I will tell you right now, it is directly from the book, I agree, but the performances, this fucking TV series fucking dragged.
Yeah.
Beyond fucking recognition. I'm like, oh my god, this fucking shit's dragging.
Yeah, the pacing was so bad, because I remember it too, it kept going on and on. I was like, oh, please get to something already. Because it literally takes almost a fucking hour before anything happens?
Yeah, and not only that, this is one of the worst CGIs, easily in the top 30 CGI films I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah, it's on level with, like, Langoliers, because that was around the time that, that they were doing the mini-series of Stephen King's. Yeah,
so, oh my god, it was so fucking bad. Fucking CGI. This movie, I will give the ending where he's like, where he actually comes back human. He's like, Danny, run! I will give you that. That was a terrifying ending.
And that was sad, too.
It was a sad ending. I will give the book that. I will give you guys the TV series that. I am sorry, I can't give you guys more. I really thought it was absolutely it was so painful to get through. Even for the book adaptation, it failed on a lot of levels, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, from what I remember...
Had you done a perfect... that, and you don't have to go verbatim from the book, and you really don't have to do shit that really drags it out that lead nowhere.
I heard the biggest problem was that the fact that the film was trying to be so... The film is very dialogue-driven. So, because the book is very detailed, there are literally scenes that go on and on where they actually describe everything that's happening. And I'm like, there's some dialogue that you don't need to have in a fucking movie like that.
Yeah.
And the way it's structured, it goes on for like so many minutes at a time with the dialogue.
What would you give the TV series?
From what I remember watching, because it's been so long.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since it came out.
If I'm judging it, probably maybe a 2 out of 10. If from what I remember, because it's been so long.
This is actually in my top 3 worst of Stephen King's, in my opinion. So I'm gonna go 1 out of 10 on this one. I really fucking get. That's that fucking bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But anyways, so we could reference the Dr. Sleep.
Okay, so a few years ago, Stephen King actually wrote another book that was a horror book. Well, I mean, he's been doing others, but he actually wrote a sequel to The Shining called Dr. Sleep. Now, I have not read it, but from what I heard from the basis of it, it deals with Danny as he's gotten older, and he's basically trying to move on from the events of The Shining.
Yeah.
And basically it deals with some other stuff going on, but that's as most as I know about it, because I really don't know much about it. But from what I heard, there are rumors going around that supposedly there is going to be an adaptation of that book, but we haven't heard anything really, like, confirmed about that.
Yeah, it's something that is actually, so far I think it's a way feature. It's not being talked about for quite a while, so.
Yeah, because Dr. Sleep, I heard, is actually supposed to be a really good book. It's just I haven't read it, but it would be interesting because, at least to see, a continuation of the story, but, I don't know. I don't have no acknowledgement of it because I haven't read the book.
Yeah.
But, though, this is kind of relating to The Shining still, there were rumors going around that supposedly we were supposed to be getting a prequel to The Shining movie coming out.
Yeah, no, not only that, there is rumors going around that Andy, who is doing the It series adaptation, he wants to do the Pet Cemetery, and then he's also asking if he can do Shining reboot.
Yeah, now I don't know if they said Shining, but I heard Pet Cemetery.
No, Pet Cemetery, and he's asking for The Shining too.
Okay.
He wants to do a lot of Stephen King's. He's asking because he's fascinated with what he did with It. He's actually fallen in love with Stephen King's work, and he's asking, can I do Pet Cemetery? And when he does that one, he's asking, can I do Shining? He is asking if Shining can come after.
Be interesting, at least. But, I mean, granted, because to me, there are certain films, to me anyway, there are certain films that can't really be redone unless they're taken at least a different type of direction. But for me, we'll get to this later, but I feel like The Shining and Pet Sematary, as they stay on their own, the original films, they feel like they don't need any other films. Yeah. I feel like they stand on their own just fine.
All right.
So our next film, well...
All right, now we get to 1982, which is another rest in peace we lost this year. We're going to... He was a big fan of Tales from the Crypt. He finally got his debut, CREEPSHOw.
CREEPSHOW with George A. Romero. Directed by George A. Romero.
Rest peace. We lost it. Yeah, we lost him this year.
Mr. Romero and his work. This film was actually directed by Romero, actually written by Stephen King, and it's actually based on two of it. In the film, it features 5 segments, because it's in an anthology format. It features 5 segments that are directed by Romero. 2 of the segments are actually based on King's own stories that are from his collection of short stories. And the film is basically playing homage to the old Tales from the Crypt comic books and everything from that Stephen King was influenced by. So this film, like we discussed earlier, was heavily influenced from King, or heavily influenced King, and but it's to this day one of my favorite anthology films. I think to this day it's probably my favorite one out of the anthology films. Yeah. Out of the anthology type movies.
Yeah. Other than Tales from the Crypt, yeah, this would be my other one. Yeah.
Yeah, because this one, it has like great, fascinating stories where you have like the first segment, which involves the murder, where it has the Father's Day.
Yeah.
Where you get it for early appearance by Ed Harris.
Yeah.
And the second story, you get the second story, which involved
Ted Danson, right?
No, that's the third one. The second one's actually the Stephen King one, where Stephen King himself actually plays the movie,
where he gets that little meteor shit on his head.
Yeah.
Oh, I got meteor shit on me. Yeah.
Where Stephen King plays Geordie Hill or something like that.
Yeah.
But basically, Geordie Hill is a farmer, and he has like this meter that comes down, and he tries to basically take it to see if he can get money out of it for college.
Yeah.
And basically, this whole premise is that the fucking meteor starts having like weeds growing all over him,
and he becomes that fucking big old plant and all that shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which then we have the Ted Danson one where we had the
Leslie Nielsen,
where he pretty much pays him back, and he has him. I remember the ocean scene.
Yeah, basically, Ted Danson plays a guy who's basically screwing Leslie Nielsen's wife behind his back.
Yeah.
And basically, the whole premise is that Leslie Nielsen takes him and her to the beach and basically has them at gunpoint. It makes it to where they're stuck inside the sand.
Yeah.
In the sand, their heads or their whole body is in the sand except for the top of their head. And while they're in there, the tide is coming back and forth and trying to wash over them and try to drown them.
In which it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, out of a weird, spoiler alert, out of a whole turn of events, they fucking become zombies and try to go after Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty creepy.
Yeah. Which, alright, was a cool segment. My favorite of all time, of all his segments, The Crate. The monkey, oh my god, that was fucking terrifying, dude. Not to mention, her bit that fucking dude's throat and tore it out, and his wife. Man, I really, that and I will get to part 2, the blob part, but those 2 segments are my favorite of them all.
Yeah, I love the raft part.
No, I'm not going to get to that. That's part 2.
No, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I love the crate part. Yeah, that one is a good segment, too. It's definitely the longest out of all of them. But it is a great segment, especially how...
Where he has wants revenge on his wife.
Well, yeah, because his wife's such a bitch and everything, and they discover that there's this weird crate that's been, like, lost...
smuggled in his universe.
Yeah.
University, his college. And that dude sticks his hand through his gold emeralds and gets his fucking arm torn off.
Yeah.
And then screen goes red and does that weird music.
Yeah.
Kind of like Kill Bill.
You know what I love, too, about this?
Like a Kill Bill.
That's what I'm saying. But you know what I love, too, about the look of the film? Is how it's, like, very comic book look. Like, like a lot of parts, you see characters when they, like, are in shock.
Where you have the like, Reaper guy where he talks to the fucking kids in the cartoon version.
Well, I was going to say also, but I was going to say in the film
he's like
itself,
the Crypt Keeper of that.
Yeah. But what I was going to say was, anytime someone's like in excitement or something, or not excitement, in shock, there's like this comic book kind of like color over them that gives it like that very comic booky look.
Yeah.
You know, where they have like red in the background and shit like that.
Yeah.
I like that look they use.
Yeah. Which I like Crate. That was my favorite, the Creepshow Part 1. And I enjoyed
we also
that
had
one.
the fifth,
then we had the Roach.
The Roach
thing.
one in the fifth segment called it had the dude from Christmas Vacation.
That one was kind of fucking hard to watch.
That was hard to watch. It was fucking sick.
It was disgusting, man.
Yeah, because the whole premise is that a guy who's a germaphobe, he is trying to avoid all these cockroaches, and he gets like devoured by them, and they actually like bust out of his fucking skin. It's fucking nasty.
Yeah, they are disgusting, which is pretty creepy. And then later on, we get a sequel to Creepshow.
Yeah, we actually get a sequel
that's Part 2.
Where George Romero and Stephen King come back to write this one as well.
Though we get less segments in this one.
Yeah,
we get the Indian, the raft, and hey, lady, there's a ride.
The hitchhiker.
This one was a good sequel.
It was.
It was a great sequel because the first one, I liked a couple segments, but then there's like maybe one or two I could forget about. This one, I liked every segment.
Yeah.
The Indian one's a mixed one, but the other two were fucking fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The raft is actually the only one that's based on Stephen King's stories.
So we get the first one where we get the Indian one where the guys kind of rob the old people.
Yeah.
And they kind of like kill, kind of fuck with them. And one of the guys is an Indian, and well, this old dude is always worshiping the statue outside, which is a chief from the tribe of that like an Indian Bear Ground type thing, and the old people get slaughtered in this robbery by these Indian guy who wants to be like a fucking Hollywood dude.
Yeah,
and then kind of like he gets killed at the end. He gets skinned. He gets his scalped and all that stuff. But my second favorite segment out of all the creep shows is the raft.
The raft, which is actually based on one of King's actual stories. Yeah. It's the only one out of the 3 segments that's actually based on one of King's stories.
Yeah, where you get this kind of like it's kind of like his alternative of the Blob, where the Blob is in a lake and he can't leave the lake.
It kind of has like a Friday 13 kind of feel because you have these teenagers going out there to go in this lake and everything, and they're on like this wooden raft. On this wooden raft, and then basically as they're hanging out on there, they start seeing like this weird tar-looking thing coming across in the water. Yeah, and then they start,
which is his version of Blob.
Yeah, and then it starts like.
Like it fucking hurts, dude. You can like those, like that one is like really more graphic than the fucking the crate, because this one was more like they were describing how fucking painful it was getting bit by that fucking thing, dude. It was like acidy. Like I remember it sucked one girl in, and like 2 seconds later she's just skin and bone, like not even skin, like she's just bone.
Yeah, like
he sucked like all the meat and fucking skin off. Like, that shit is fucking vicious, dude. I also used to keep in mind I was a kid. I used to get a boner scene off that fucking part where the dude's sucking on the girl's tits.
Yeah, I remember that part.
Yeah, and then it's playing that fucking, like, Barbie-type music.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's sitting there sucking it, and then she's screaming as it's tearing her fucking face apart and all that shit. And then the dude talks shit to it, and it fucking sucks him.
Yeah.
Kills him. That's my second favorite.
And then at the end of that... Well, I was going to say, at the end of that segment... No, and then the end of that segment, it actually shows, in a fucking weird coincidence, it shows like a sign that says, keep out, there's dangerous, do not enter, or whatever.
Do not enter, yeah. So I enjoyed that. That's my second favorite. Here comes my third favorite of all the
Hitchhiker.
Hitchhiker. But this girl starts off, another scene where I used to get a boner on, where she starts out where she's fucking.
With that one dude.
Yeah, fucking one dude.
Behind her husband's back.
Yeah, and cheating and all that stuff. And she goes on this fucking trip. I don't know if it's for she was a journalist or some shit.
I forgot. It's been a while.
But she hits this fucking black dude as a hitchhiker. And basically, it's classic because he's like, hey, lady, thanks for the ride. Yeah, and he will not fucking go away, dude. I had a blast with that one. That was my third favorite.
Well, it's funny because Stephen King himself actually appears in that segment where he plays after the hitchhiker gets hit, there's these these bystanders that come around, and Stephen King actually plays a trucker that gets out. He's lighting a flare and shit, and he's like, hey, buddy. What the fuck happened?
Yeah, I love when he does that high pitch. Hey, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
I do love Stephen King popping up and shit. But yeah, this one was, believe it or not, when I was actually a little kid, even though it's my third favorite segment, this one actually used to scare me the most.
Yeah, I believe it or not,
Because he would not leave.
I never,
and she was stuck out in the woods and shit with him and all that.
Yeah, I never saw the original second one, or I never saw the second one when I was little. I watched it when I got older.
So, yeah, this one was a great segment, and I will tell you right now, it was a great sequel to the Creepshows. What did you get Creepshow 1?
Creepshow 1, I'd probably say maybe a 9 out of 10.
Alright, I'm going to go 8 out of 10. I'm going to go probably... I'm probably go 9 out of 10 with Creepshow 2, because I think that's a great sequel.
Yeah, but I feel like because there was more segments in part 1, I'd have to go a little below.
Well, I'm gonna argue with you on that one. Even though I give Creepshow 1 8 out of 10, I give Creepshow 2 a 9 out of 10. I'm gonna go actually 8 out of 10 Creepshow 1, 8.5 for Creepshow 2. I still rate Creepshow 2 out higher than 1 because Creepshow 2, every segment was fucking fun. Versus 1, 2 of them I didn't really care for.
Yeah, the first segment was just a good opening, but it's just a standard, segment. The last one's just, kind of hard to watch, but the 3 segments are fucking great.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of almost a tie.
But that's the thing, because there's 3 segments that are good. Because in Creepshow 2, I love the segments, but I only really like 2 of them. I only really like the raft one and then the hitchhiker one.
I love raft, hitchhiker. The Indian one didn't bother me too much. And then in the first one, I like the raft. I like the Ted Danson one. I really didn't care for the rest of them. So, that's an 8 out of 10. Yeah, I'm going to give Creepshow 1 8 out of 10 because it's still fun. Even though I didn't rate the other ones pretty higher, they are pretty gross and fun. I do go 8.5 of Creepshow 2, though.
Okay, fair enough. I'd probably give mine like a 7.5. Or no, I'd probably say a good 8.5 for Creepshow 2 for me.
Yeah.
So
anyways, like you said, I'm Creepshow 8 out of 10. Creepshow 2, 8.5 out of 10. I watched Creepshow 3.
You're not the only one. Me and him are actually on the same level because I only watched the first 10 minutes and I gave up.
Oh my god. I'm going to talk about Children of Corn reboot. Reboot! So I say.
Yeah.
I have a discussion between this and Creepshow 3 is the worst he's ever had of all time.
Of anything based on Stephen King's work. But keep in mind, folks, Creepshow 3, technically speaking, is not considered any part of Romero or King's work. So
it's somebody else that wanted to carry on.
Somebody basically wanted to do a cash-in on Creepshow. And they basically made an anthology type format out of their films. So this is technically an unofficial sequel compared to the other films. But it's still bad. It's so fucking bad.
I'm gonna tell you right now, fans, people listening right now, I literally could not get 10 minutes through this, guys. It was so fucking bad, dude. Even Tales in a Crypt with M. Night Shyamalan on TNT would probably laugh at this.
Yeah.
This shit was unacceptable. This shit right here should be what gets sued.
That's what I'm saying, man.
This shit, dude, I'm sorry, I'm opening Pinhead's box. Kill me, please. If this is movies right now, please kill me. I beg you, stick 10 hooks in my fucking vital organs. Please kill me. This is that fucking bad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right now. Creepshow 3, Children of Corn, the reboot. 2 worst films I've ever seen of King's adaptations.
Well,
this right here, I can't give you guys good detail. 10 minutes of quit. So far what I've seen, it's 0.5 out of 10.
Yeah. The only segment me and him pretty much watched, well, not together, but what we pretty much watched was that Alice segment, the very first one. Yeah. It was so fucking bad that I was just like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah. Not to mention, they didn't even bring the original, what they're trying to do with M. Night Shyamalan's Crypt Keeper. Not trying to bring the motherfucker back.
Nope.
How the fuck do you do that with justifying that?
Well, what I actually heard was that the film segment is actually wrapped around by characters appearing. Like how in Pulp Fiction, where characters pop up in different segments. That's how this one was, where characters would just suddenly pop up in different segments to tie it around.
The way they're doing it, it failed. Even people I know that finished it said, "Oh my god, what the fuck was this?"
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude! If this wasn't even Creepshow, it still was bad.
Yeah. Though I know this is a different film, but there is something that is considered an unofficial sequel, but the actual considered the real sequel to Creepshow 2, which is actually a film I watched called Tales from the Dark Side, the movie.
Which I think it's supposed to be brought up later in this.
Well, it is, but basically, in context-wise to Creepshow, this film was based on a series called Tales from the Dark Side.
Which I was going to horror, so I didn't want to bring it up right yet.
I know, but...
Yeah.
But basically, in regards to Tales...
I'll go in more detail later when we get into the continuity of horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, that's the end of the Creepshow.
Well, I know, but that's considered the third Creepshow film.
Yeah, it is. It should be considered that.
Yeah.
And that's what it should be called. Creepshow 3, Tales of the Dark Side.
Yeah, well, because it's another one that's written.
All you gotta do is try to regenerate the fucking between scenes with the fucking creep dude, which was pretty fun. Because you know what? In Creepshow 2, I forgot to bring up that fucking Venus flytrap that used to scare the fuck out of me.
Yeah, in the cartoon segments?
Yeah, in the segments, that used to scare the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, so we're gonna move on to 1983, Cujo.
I can't judge because I haven't seen it.
He can't see it. He did not see it. I've never read the books. I don't read books. Okay, so Cujo, which came out in 1983, which was directed by Louis Teague and starred Dee Wallace, Daniel Hugh Kelly, Daniel Petronio, Ed Lorter, and Christopher Stone. I believe that's the girl from E.T. was in this.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think she was in this. So basically, it's about this... I don't have to go in too strong detail. It's an easy going. I remember the movie. Saint Bernard goes into. It starts out kind of like it's an early '80s, so it's kind of low budgety. So the Saint Bernard, I remember he goes into this little cave. He gets bit by this rabbit. It had diseases and gave him rabies.
Yeah.
And the owner has his junkyard, I remember, where they were supposed to fix the Trenton family. They go over there because the husband is cheating on the wife.
Yeah.
And they pretty much leave the house, and they're going to go and get their shit repaired, and they end up going to this repair shop, and the repair shop is where Cujo was developing his rabies, and he becomes rabid. He kills the whole fucking family of his, and pretty much his family is like stuck in this fucking car, and it's 110 degrees.
Damn,
and the
really?
car fucking quits working where it don't work, and they're stuck in a 110-degree car. And then Cujo is like straight up fucking going insane. Like he wants fucking dead meat humans, but the humans can't sit in the car because it's 110 degrees. You only got like 48 hours and you actually naturally die in real life.
Well, how come they can't start it?
The car died. And that's where
right.
they're going to the mechanic. The mechanic was killed by his own dog. His whole family was shredded by the fucking dog. So they're stuck in this fucking car, and this whole movie, you got this girl, this wife, and her son. I don't want to describe it because my buddy hadn't seen it, and it has an emotional fucking ending that it can get you teary-eyed.
I know, I've never seen it. I need to check it out.
It's sad that it ended that way. But, like, the wife is, like, trying to find these obstacles to getting to her kid's son, and she gets fucking tore the fuck up. Like, her and her son get just shredded, like, trying to get their obstacles, man, and they just can't get it, and it has a fucking emotional ending. We are spoiling a lot of shit, but if I spoil this, it's going to ruin it for my buddy, man. It's a fucking sad ending, though. Because the boy's only a fucking little baby, man. And it's pretty sad. And it's one of King's emotional endings where it's pretty fucking sad. Yeah. And Cujo is a classic. It is actually considered his, even though we now go Creepshow is classic and all the other films we mentioned is classic, this is actually his considered all-time classic next to Carrie.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and it brought back that type shit where it's like, oh my god, this is mind-blowing. And I will tell you right now, man, the fucking practicals where they used a real dog almost, where they had a guy in a real dog's body, oh my god, that was graphic. The shit they did to make this shit look authentic.
I know, right?
Real Saint Bernard skin.
Oh, shit.
Like a real fucking dog was skinned alive for this role.
Fuck.
And they use, I mean, just, oh my god, I'm going to tell you right now, this movie is disgusting. With the whole, like, blood drawn and dog snot just tearing in. You see the fucking shit just leaking in their fucking sores, and then you can see they're suffering from the diseases in the car.
Yeah.
It is a graphic fucking movie. Though, I will say it is a very good movie. It is a very good movie. You need to watch it. I recommend it, man. It is a graphic fucking novel. And I will tell you right now, for the book readers, actually praise the fuck out of this movie.
I know.
They did say, all right, this was really good.
I know,
this is one that doesn't have controversy. This one actually said, wow, that is spot on, man. That is really fucking graphic. It's fucking hell.
No doubt,
this
man.
one, everybody praises together. I grew up, my mom and grandma showed me this. This was, everybody passes it on to their family. This is really good. So, well, Velour, it does have some dialogue where it is a drawn-out story at sometimes. I'm going to go 8.5 out of 10. His Cujo is a really good story.
Fair enough. Yeah, I definitely need to check it out someday.
Yes.
I actually wanted to tell you something about that with Cujo. It kind of goes with basically I thought it was a knockoff growing up. There was this movie that I watched the previews for. Mm-hmm. It was on VCR one time. I was renting movies from Blockbuster back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear of a movie called Man's Best Friend?
Yes, that is with Lance Hendrickson.
Where it's supposed to be.
I grew up on that one. 94 is when it came out.
94?
Yes, 94.
Okay, yeah, I guess so.
Man's Best Friend. I remember that one.
The rip-off.
Yep.
It was supposed to be a rip-off of Cujo.
Yes. And it was with, what's that girl's name? And he was a lab dog, and they fucking tested him, and he got loose. That girl, that chick that played that fucking movie. God, what's her fucking
I can't remember.
God, she was a famous
I never
actress.
saw it, but I heard about it.
I seen it. It's actually pretty good.
I heard it was like basically a rip-off of Cujo.
It is. It's a rip-off of Cujo, yeah, basically. But more mechanical.
Where he's Robo Cujo.
Robo, yeah. Yeah, which... yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, Cujo was a good movie. I recommend it, dude.
Fair enough. Well,
highly praised. But we're going to take a time out.
Fair enough. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break real quick. We'll be coming up with part 2 of our discussion of Stephen King.
Which we start with Death Zone.
Yes.
Dead Zone.
I
have not seen it.
I have. I'll talk about that one next.
Okay.
So we're going to take a break real quick. We'll be coming back with part 2 of our discussion coming up soon.
Which is cool because I can talk about the next one you probably haven't seen.
Oh, there we go.
Christine.
Yep.
I've seen that.
So we'll catch you guys here later. We're going to take a break. We'll be coming back with part 2. We'll see you guys later.
You start off with Dead Zone, I do Christine afterwards.
Exactly. So we'll catch you guys here later. We're going to take a break.